Good afternoon.
Hi,
Please state your name.
John William Sant Jr.,
How do you spell Sant?
S-A-N-T,
Where do you live?
in 11327 White Rock Terrace in Bradenton.
And did you live next door to Ashley Benefield and her mother, Alicia Byers?
I did.
Do you still live at that same address?
I do.
Do they still live at the same address?
No.
Okay. Did Ashley have a child when you lived next to each other?
She did.
About how old was the child last time you were together?
At the house, in the neighborhood?
When they were living in the neighborhood?
I'd say 18 months to 2 years.
Okay. And do you remember a day when Ashley came to your house?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember what day of the week that was?
It was on a Sunday.
And what time of day was it? Light out, dark out?
It was still light, but it was probably early evening. It was between football games.
Okay, so it was between the football games on a Sunday?
Right.
All right. Still light out? What do you remember about Ashley coming over?
From the very beginning?
Right.
Well, I heard a very loud pounding on my door, and kind of startled me, but it was loud. And I went and I looked out through the little window, and wasn't anyone there. So I thought, well, went to the back and looked out the back. I even looked outside and didn't see anybody. And I was thinking, well, one of my grandkids has a friend in that area there. I thought they might be messing around, but I didn't see anything. So I guess it was a few minutes. Nobody, must be just someone screwing around. And it happened again.
The pounding.
And the pounding happened again, yeah.
I'm having a little trouble here.
All right.
If we get you to scoot up a little bit, there you go.
Sorry. What part do you want me to start at again?
Okay, so the pounding started again.
The pounding started for the second time, yes.
Okay, and what did you do then?
At that point, now I'm starting to get a little concerned. Someone's trying to either break in or a home invasion and that. So I went back into my room, went into my closet, and I pulled my weapon out.
Okay, and you say weapon, what kind of weapon was that?
It was a Glock 23 40 cal.
Okay, so you had your own firearm.
Yes, ma'am.
You pulled that out, and what did you do?
I then came from the closet back towards the door and decided at that point, let's look out the door one more time before I load one in and take it to the door. So I just sat down on the little table beside my chair.
So you set the gun down?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I left, and then I went back to the door.
What did you?
And I looked out again, and then that's when I saw I saw a leg sticking out. Someone was sitting on the stoop.
Okay, so you saw a leg. You think someone was sitting?
Well, they were sitting.
Okay, so what'd you do?
Well, then I kind of noticed who the leg belonged to, and I thought I did. And I went and I opened the door.
And did you know who it was when you saw the person?
I assumed who it was when I looked out the window.
When you opened the door, could you see who it was?
Well, by the time I got the door open, she was standing up.
So you saw who it was?
Yes.
And who was it?
It was Ashley.
Okay, and you kind of pointed over that direction. You see her in the room today?
She's over next to Mr. Taylor now.
Stipulate that it's Miss Benefield, Your Honor.
Stipulations ID.
Yes.
And what did Ashley say when you opened the door?
As soon as I opened the door, before I could say anything, she said, he attacked me.
And is that all she said?
At that point, I said, who? And he said, Doug. He attacked me, and I shot him.
Okay. Is that all she said to you?
That's all she said.
Did she have a weapon with her?
I didn't see it at that point.
Did you see a weapon eventually?
Eventually.
Where was that weapon?
It was laying down just to the right of my door where I couldn't see it, where I was standing at that point.
And when did you see that weapon?
Well, after she said, and I shot him, I said, well, then you better come in. And I moved to the left to let her in, and that's when I noticed it lying there on the ground.
Okay. And what was it?
It was a handgun.
What did you do with that handgun?
Once I got her in the house, I told her, I said, I can't leave that out there. No, I don't know whether she responded or not, but then I went out, reached down, picked it up by the trigger guard, brought it back in the house, and set it down inside the door.
Okay. And when you say inside the door, was that on the floor or was there a table?
It was on the floor.
On the floor. Okay. So once you brought her into the house, where did you go?
Once I brought the weapon in, I shut the door and locked it. And I looked at her and I said, what condition is Doug in? And she said, I don't know. She said, don't know. She said, just don't know. I said, where's your mother in Emerson? And she said, at the park.
So you knew her mother and you knew Emerson, her daughter?
Yes.
Okay. And she said at the park?
At the park.
And at some point during this conversation when she was at your house, did she tell you that that gun was hers?
After listening to the tapes, I was able to hear her say it, but it was really faint, yeah.
Okay. Did you call 911?
I did.
Have you listened to the 911 call?
Many times.
Okay. I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 1. You can take a look at this. What is this?
The disc, I guess.
Is it
Oh,
this?
okay, yeah.
The 911 call?
Oh, okay.
And when you listened to this 911 call, was it an accurate representation of your conversation with the person on the other line? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. No. It wasn't me.
Pardon?
Yes, I recognize my own voice.
The state would enter it and State's Exhibit 1.
Objection. We received?
What was Ashley's mood when she was there?
I'm sorry, Ashley's what?
Ashley's mood?
Terrified.
Okay. Was she, do you remember her crying?
I didn't remember her crying until I was listening to those tapes, and then it sounded like she was crying. But she just couldn't get any words out. After that last statement about where her mother and daughter were, that was really the last coherent amount of any words that ever came out of her mouth that I could understand. At that point, it was just stuttering and shaking and sobbing.
Okay. So you did not have any other conversations with her, meaningful conversations with her after that?
No, the rest of the conversation was a 911 operator.
Okay. At this point, I'm going to publish State's Exhibit number 1.
Members of the jury, when physical evidence, documents, photographs, video or audio recordings, and so forth are admitted or received by the court, they may be published to the jury. This means shown to the jury. Depending on the type of evidence, it might be shown to you on the overhead screen, through the sound system, handed out for you to look at, or shown to you. Evidence that is admitted or received by the court will be available to you during your deliberations, and you will have as much time as you need to review and consider the evidence. Members of the jury, you are about to listen to an audio recording. The court instructs you that the recording has been edited to eliminate irrelevant portions that would not add to your understanding of the case. The fact that the recording has been edited should not concern you in any way and must not impact the way you listen to, view, and consider the evidence.
Thank you, Judge.
Finally, you are about to hear a recorded conversation. This recorded conversation is proper evidence, and you may consider it just as any other evidence. You are also going to be furnished a transcript of the recorded conversation. The recording is the evidence, and the transcript is being provided to you only as a guide to help you follow along as you listen to the recording. The transcripts are not evidence of what was actually said or who said it. If you notice any difference between what you hear on the recording and what you read in the transcript, you must rely on what you hear and not what you have read. Also, any notes that you want to make during the playing of the audio should be on your notepads. Once we have played this audio for you, the transcript, as I said, is not evidence. You will not be allowed to keep the transcript, and the transcript will not go back with you during your deliberations. But the audio recording will be available. So you just take one and pass it down. Help yourself, sir. Yeah, if you want some water. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Manatee County 911, what is the address of your emergency?
Hi, my address is 11327 White Rock Terrace.
Okay, can you repeat that for me to make sure I have it correctly?
The house next door, honey, what's your address? Okay, it's right next door to me. She just came over. Her strange husband attacked her, and she says she shot him. Now, we've not gone over there yet.
Okay, what's his name?
Who?
What is his name?
His name is Doug Benefield.
Okay.
I have not gone over there. I'm
Okay,
not go back.
I don't want you to go over there. Stay on the line just one moment. I'm going to connect you over to Sheriff's Dispatch, okay?
Okay.
One moment.
Calm down, honey. Calm down.
What is your name, sir?
My name's John Sant. KMT. I live next to the
Dispatch on a recorded line. This is Gabby. How can I help you? Hey, Gabby, it's Kieran. On 11327, I have John Singer on the phone. He's saying the neighbor came over, female neighbor. It was a domestic. She shot her husband. Okay. All right, I'm going to get that on the screen, okay? Okay. Which screen is her at? Look at 11327 White Rock Terrace. Okay.
That's my address.
That's your address? What's her address? Where did it occur at?
Her address is right next to, I believe it's 11331.
She's on the corner? Okay.
Yes, ma'am, on the corner. She's with me now, quite upset. The weapon is here.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go over and look at anything, or just wait for the...
No, I want you to just wait for the police, okay?
All right, if you could just get them here quick. She came in, she was quite hysterical. I didn't know who was banging on my door. Said that he attacked her, and she shot him.
Okay. I'm just getting that on the screen, okay?
Okay. I know, I know. Go ahead, ma'am.
Where is the gun? Is it with her, or is it just...
I have it right here, ma'am. It's sitting on the floor inside the door. My door's locked, so in case he isn't, he can't get up. I'm also armed if he likes to come over and try to harm her, just so everybody knows.
Okay.
I'm kind of concerned with her mother and the little girl might get back there and find this whatever happens. Don't go out there, honey. Come on. I know. Come on, sit down. Sit down. I know.
Yeah. All right, I just want you guys to stay on the phone with me, okay?
No, I'm right here with you. I'm just with her. I'm trying to comfort her. We're in the house. Or the police are going to want no problem. I know, baby. You got to sit down. Come on. Why, they want you to stay here. If he is, we can't take a chance. Why I want them to hurry up before you get back from the park.
Deputies are moving as fast as they can. They're coming priority. They're coming lights and sirens. They just want to get and make sure that everything's okay. So where in the house is he?
Where in the house is he? Her bedroom. No, I don't know where that is. So it's one of the bedrooms. It's a lot like mine, so I'm going to assume when you go into is the garage door open? When you go into the garage, it's going to be on the left? Yeah, on the left.
Okay. Okay. All right, I'm just getting that typed up, okay?
What, ma'am?
I'm just getting everything on the screen, okay?
Okay.
I should have Debbie pulling up here soon. Do you see him?
No, I'm in the back now looking out. I know which way the park is in Central Park here.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Okay, the sheriff's here. Thank heavens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you
The sheriff's car just pulled.
Yeah,
What do you want us to do?
I'm going to stay on the line with you until the deputy gets with you, okay?
Okay. Okay, the sheriff is here. I'm not too sure where they're going.
I'm just staying on the line with you. The deputy's
I'm right here. I haven't left yet.
Yeah.
I just see it's a SUV sitting out there in front of my neighbor's house, right in front of my house. Just to calm, they're going to take you into custody. You know that, right? Okay, just you just calm down and just okay. I know.
Okay. You just let me know when they come knock on your door, okay?
Are they coming now, the police?
They will. They're waiting for a little bit of additional units. They want to have everything.
Yeah, okay, well, I'm glad they're on fees. We got to get a hold of them. Don't go out. I'm until the police officer comes and look.
They're going to let me know what they want me to tell you, okay? They're just waiting to make sure they have other people with them. They don't want anything to get out of hand without having proper backup, you know?
Yep. Well, like I said, the weapon's here. I just want them to know that exactly where it's just sitting right inside the door. It's on the floor. And I did reach out when she ran in and picked it up off my front patio and thought, I wasn't going to leave it outside. Here's another police officer.
Is it just inside the front door or the back door?
Say that again?
Is it just inside the front door or like the back door patio area?
I'm by the front door. She came in the front. I'm sitting here staring at an officer right now.
Okay.
Looks like he's talking to one of the other car. Neither one of them are moving.
Yeah. I'll let you know when it's time, when to come out, okay?
Okay. Oh, so your weapon was his. Okay. Okay. That's why. Let me get my... Okay, just calm down.
Okay. Now, the deputies want her to go outside with her hands up, nothing in them. Okay?
You want her to go out?
Yes. They want her to come out with not...
Out of my house?
Yes.
Does she know she's in my house?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right, so we're going to have to go out, okay?
And they want you to stay inside.
Now,
Okay.
put your hands where you can see them, okay? All right. Where's she at?
Just start walking out front. They're outside.
Oh, I don't see them anywhere. She's sure it isn't her.
Just start walking out. They're not going to do anything. They just want to make sure that everything's safe and that they're safe, okay?
Can I take her out? She's really upset.
No, they want you to stay inside. It says
You want me to stay on your hand? I don't see it. Now, are they at the right house?
We told them multiple times which house to be at.
Yeah, 11327. I'm right in front of that SUV that does not have its lights. Hold up right there, honey. Where are they at? There's a police officer over on the, with the flashing. Okay, one of them sees her now.
Yeah, just keep her walking out, okay?
Honey, do they see you?
They're probably giving her instructions, okay?
Okay. Now, I need a police officer to come and get this weapon.
Yeah, they're going to come and get the weapon. They just wanted to make
Okay,
sure.
here they come now. Okay.
Can we folks just hand those transcripts back down to the deputy? Let me resume your question.
At any time during this interaction with Ashley, did she appear to have any injuries?
No.
Okay. Did you see any blood on her?
No.
Okay. Did she complain of any injuries?
No.
Okay. How about her clothing? Did you notice, was her clothing ripped or anything wrong with her clothing?
Not that I know, no.
Okay. And eventually, did the police come to your house?
And talk to me?
Yes.
Yes, they did.
And did they recover that firearm that she had brought over that you left?
They did it while I was outside, because when I went back in, it was gone.
Okay.
I assume they took it.
Okay, so maybe you didn't see them take it, but
No.
it was gone?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions. The defense may have some questions for you.
Okay.
Cross.
Afternoon, Mr. Sant.
Afternoon.
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Thank you for coming this afternoon. With court's permission, may I approach?
Yes.
Mr. Sant, I've passed you a photograph. I'm going to mark it for identification as fence exhibit number 1, if I can.
Yes, sir.
I don't mean to keep startling you. I apologize.
That's okay.
Can I please have that transcript? No, the transcript. Thank you, sir.
There you go.
Mr. Sant, can you identify that?
Well, it looks like my house and Alicia's house at the time.
Yes, sir. And they lived in the house right next door to you, I believe you said.
The one with the red dot on it.
Yes. It was the corner house, correct?
Right.
And it's got a red dot on it?
Right.
All right. Is it an accurate representation of your house in comparison and in position to where Miss Benefield lived?
Yeah.
All right. Would you do me the favor, may I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Would you put a check mark on the roof of your house?
My house.
Yes.
All right.
Your house that's depicted in that picture. Okay, we're going to help the jury see how this took place. We'll put it on the overhead. Can we put it on the overhead?
Absolutely. Madam Clerk, can you give him some lines for us? Just the jury and the presentation. Is this just a demonstrative aid?
Yes, sir. Okay, so, Mr. Sant, just if I may turn your attention, if you could.
This one or the?
Actually, I think maybe you'll be able to see it better on this one.
Oh.
The chair should swing around.
Oh, yeah.
You see the one with the red dot on it?
Yes.
That's Ashley's house,
Yes.
and your house is immediately to the left, correct?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Don't move that mouse.
I'd like to move that into evidence, Your Honor, as defense exhibit number 1 at this point.
Okay. I just asked a minute ago if it was a demonstrative aid or if you were admitting it.
Well, was it demonstrative aid up until Mr.
So,
Sant?
okay. Admit things first if you want. Any objection?
And Judge, I recognize it's the state's case, but I have no objection to this.
All right. Received.
Mr. Sant, you've told us that on this terrible occasion, Ashley was terrified.
Yes.
I think you said, I don't want to put words in your mouth, I think you said she was stuttering and shaking.
Yes.
Pretty hysterical.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, now, Mr. Sant, you're pretty familiar with firearms, are you?
Somewhat. I use them. I go to firing ranges now. I'm no expert, but I.
Was there anything about that firearm on that day that you noticed that was unusual?
First thing I noticed is when I saw it, there was a spent cartridge stuck between the slide and the entrance to the chamber.
A spent cartridge, meaning a fired cartridge?
I'm sorry. Yes, it was empty.
Okay, and it was stuck where?
It was stuck between the slide, front end of the slide, and the back end of the chamber entrance.
The slide on the gun that
Right.
cocks it and loads another bullet into the chamber?
Correct.
So could we agree that the weapon was jammed?
The weapon had been misfired or mishandled.
Okay.
It wasn't held far, and it didn't eject it far
Yeah.
enough.
Now, what is that indicative of, that a cartridge would be stuck like that?
Objection foundation.
I'm going to sustain.
Mr. Sant, do you have experience to the extent of being familiar with weapons and what would cause a cartridge to get stuck in the manner that it was on this gun on that day?
Yes.
May I, Your Honor?
Do you want to be heard?
No.
Go ahead.
Thank you. What is that indicative of, Mr. Sant?
In my experience, was the weapon wasn't held properly when that particular cartridge was fired.
And when you say by held properly, meaning held too loosely?
Yes.
No further questions.
Redirect.
No.
Can this witness be released?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Sant.
Yes.
You are released from your subpoena. You are free to go.
Okay.
No, you can't take those. They wouldn't work outside
Oh,
anyway.
well.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay, can you flip on the lights? Do you need the presentation?
Not with this next witness. The state would call Deputy Burrow.
All right.
You saw this girl from testimony about the deputy insurance, the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Hello, sir. My name is Judge White. I'm presiding over this case. Just make yourself comfortable in that chair. You're about 12 to 15 inches from the microphone. It does adjust up, down, left, right if you need it. If you're talking a loud, clear voice right into that microphone, we'll be able to hear you.
Sir?
May I inquire?
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
Deputy Thomas Burley, B-A-U-R-L-E,
Burley, I said it wrong. I apologize.
That's okay.
And how are you employed?
Manatee County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you been so employed?
Going on 23 years.
And what are your current duties with the sheriff's office?
Patrol.
And what are your daily duties as a patrol deputy?
Patrolling my zone, which is Lakewood Ranch currently, and taking calls for service.
And back in September of 2020, were you in the same position?
Yes, ma'am.
And would your duties have been the same?
Yes, ma'am.
And to become a law enforcement officer many moon ago, what kind of training or education did you obtain?
It would be a law enforcement academy here in Manatee County.
And then since then, do you continue to have courses that are offered to the sheriff's office that you can take if you'd like?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I want to draw your attention to September 27th, 2020. Do you recall if you were working days or nights then?
I was working second shift, which would be 3 p.m. to 3 a.m.
And you said your zone now is in Lakewood Ranch.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Our county's, the sheriff divides the whole county up into zones.
Correct.
Okay. And what zone is that you're in now?
My zone is North 80, which is Lakewood Ranch, which covers from State Road 70 to University Parkway, from I-75 to Lorraine Road.
And so on September 27th of 2020, what zone were you in if it was something
North
else?
80.
North 80.
Yes, ma'am.
And during your shift that day, did you respond to 11327 White Rock Terrace?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the nature of the call?
It came out originally as a 911 call that a female had come to the neighbor's house and she had a gun with her.
And when you hear a call such as that, does it affect how you respond to the scene?
Yes, ma'am.
And how does it do that?
It's dependent on the situation. Sometimes it's priority lights and sirens. Sometimes it's a normal response.
And how about once you arrive at the scene, does it affect how you would react when you got to the scene?
Yes, ma'am. Per protocol, we park a minimum few houses away from the actual caller's address.
And is that based on the fact that there was a firearm?
Correct.
Thank you. And did you do that in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you know how long it took you to arrive since you were in your same zone? If you had to guess.
That's an adjacent. That's North 70. It's an
Oh, I'm
adjacent
sorry.
zone. I would guess probably 15 minutes.
And I think I didn't ask the right questions earlier. You were in zone North 80 then?
Correct.
Where was this call?
North 70.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
I messed that up. And when you arrived, what did you do?
Again, per protocol, I parked a few houses away. I'd observed a vehicle parked on the opposite side of the street directly across from the 911 caller's residence. So I took up a position behind that vehicle because I was the only deputy on scene at the time. I was waiting there behind the vehicle for additional deputies to arrive on scene.
And did they arrive?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long were you there, you think, by yourself?
With a minute, maybe.
And once the additional deputies arrived, what happens?
The second deputy arrived was Deputy Vreeland, which that was his zone. Dispatch still had the 911 caller on the phone. So we had the Deputy Vreeland told dispatch to have the 911 caller tell the female to come out with her hands up.
And did she do that?
Yes, ma'am, she did.
And were you able to observe her at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you make any observations about her person?
Just she was visibly upset.
And did you see any injuries?
Not that I observed, no.
And did you notice anything about her clothes? Was it ripped or have
No,
any?
ma'am, she was wearing a sports bra, shorts, and sneakers.
And they seem to be intact?
Seemed to be intact, yes.
Thank you. Was she saying anything when she exited the home?
No, ma'am.
What happened to her once she exited?
Deputy Vreeland proceeded forward to the middle of the road and placed her in the handcuffs. And being as my car was the closest, we brought her to my car, placed her in the back seat of my car.
And why would...
Can we break for a moment?
Yes.
And I think I was asking you why she was placed in cuffs and put in the police car.
Due to the circumstances and officer safety.
Thank you, sir. And at that time... Actually, strike that. What was the next thing you did?
Other deputies were arriving on scene. So I yelled to any deputies that were there were multiple, to watch Miss Benefield in the back of my car, while myself, Deputy Vreeland, and I believe it was Detective Jones, proceeded to the house to clear the residence.
And would that have been that house next door to the 911 call?
Correct. Directly next door.
Thank you. And did you enter that home?
Yes, ma'am.
And how did you enter the home?
Through the front door.
Did you notice anything outside the house?
Yes, ma'am. There's a large moving van, I believe it was a U-Haul in the driveway, and the garage door was open, looked like they were moving stuff.
The big door?
Yes,
Was that- okay. And when you went in through the front door, were you the first person or was Deputy Vreeland in front of you?
Deputy Vreeland was first, I was second, and Detective Jones was third.
And was the door locked, if you know?
No.
And what happened once you got inside?
As we entered the house, I observed the first bedroom to the left. I observed just a pair of legs, basically just above the knee down. Deputy Vreeland immediately took that room to check it. Myself and Detective Jones proceeded through the rest of the house to clear the rest of the house.
And what are you doing when you clear a house?
Making sure there's nobody else in there that could be hurt or injured or any threats.
And did you find anyone else in the home other than the set of legs you left with Deputy Vreeland?
No, ma'am.
And did you ever go back into that bedroom?
No, ma'am.
And did you remain in the residence?
No, ma'am.
Where did you go?
Myself and Detective Jones immediately left the residence, and I went straight to my patrol car and proceeded to get inside my patrol car to sit with Miss Benefield.
Your Honor, just a second.
Yes.
At some point, did you ask, was EMS on scene when you were on scene?
There was so much going on. I don't know if they'd arrived while we were in clearing the house or they arrived right after. I'm not sure exactly when they arrived.
Okay, but at some point they were there?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you ask them to check Miss Benefield to make sure
Yes,
she was
ma'am.
okay? And did she require any medical treatment?
No.
What was the next thing that you did?
Sat in my car with Miss Benefield and waited till I was directed what to do.
And were you eventually given some direction?
Yes, I was advised to transport her down to the main sheriff's office in Bradenton for interviews with
And that's the
detectives.
one by the mall?
Yes, ma'am.
And once you got there, how long is that ride?
28 to 30 minutes.
Once you got there, what did you do?
Once upon my arrival, escorted Miss Benefield up to the entrance where I believe was Detective Justin Warren was there, and I believe one of Miss Benefield's attorneys was there as well.
And did you conduct any further investigation in this
No,
case?
ma'am.
Thank you, sir. I don't have any questions for the defense. Any more questions?
Cross?
Yes, sir. Afternoon, Deputy.
Good afternoon, sir.
A few questions. If you don't understand any of my questions, please just ask me to repeat them.
Yes, sir.
I think you told us Miss Benefield's condition emotionally on that day when you saw her was she was hysterical.
Visibly upset.
In distinguishing between visibly upset and hysterical, can we agree that you felt she may have been in shock?
I honestly wouldn't know. I just observed her to be visibly upset and crying. I didn't see any hysteria or anything like that involved.
Okay, you're basically like any deputy trained in basic first aid, no?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so you would recognize shock if you saw it.
Possibly.
All right. Do you recall giving a deposition in this case, Deputy Burrell, on August 20th, 2021?
Yes, sir.
May I approach the witness?
Yes.
Hand this to you and see if
Sure. I have a copy as well.
that refreshes your recollection at all.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even recall everything I said in the deposition due to the time frame.
And in seeing it now, does it help refresh your recollection?
Yeah.
Okay, so once again, on that particular day, did you think she may have been in shock?
According to my deposition, yes.
May I approach you on it?
Yes.
Thank you. You told us that when she was initially placed in your squad car, she had on a sports bra.
That's what I would say it was, yes.
Yeah, no, that's fine. My question runs to whether or not at some point following that, a request was made and a deputy brought a cover shirt for Miss Benefield to wear.
I don't recall a request being made. I just recall Deputy Vreeland bringing out a shirt and pair of shoes. I don't know who made that request.
She put the shirt on.
I believe so, yes.
I want to ask you for a minute about report writing. Did you write a report that reflects your participation in this particular case?
I did a supplemental report, yes, sir.
Okay, that's pretty routine for deputies, is it not?
Yes, sir.
In fact, Deputy Burrell, would it be a fair statement to say that in Police Academy, they actually train you in report writing and how important it is?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that would be because, can you even give us an estimation of how many calls you might respond to in a month?
It'd be very hard.
Okay, and by documenting significant things in your report, you don't have to rely on your memory 8 months, 2 years, 3 years down the road.
Most of the time, yeah, as with any call, sometimes you remember things after the fact.
Of course. So I want to ask you if you independently recall on May 7th, 2018, responding to a call involving a suspicious person in the driveway of Miss Benefield's home. That would have been right next door to the home that she came walking out of.
I have no recollection of that, sir.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor? Let me pass this to you, Deputy Burrell, see if it refreshes your recollection. Feel free to peruse it.
I don't recall this one, sir.
Is that your name?
It's got my name on it,
Okay.
but I don't recall it.
You don't doubt that it's
No, I don't doubt it's mine.
report that was authored by you?
Sometimes the system gets mixed up, our electronic report writing system.
Yeah.
Still happens today. Sometimes you go to write a report and somebody else's, another deputy's name inadvertently
Sure.
ends up as the primary on that. If you don't catch it, it stays that way.
Yeah. At least as we sit here now, you don't have any reason to suspect that's the case, as opposed to it being an
It's
earlier.
possible.
Let me finish.
Okay.
As opposed to it being an earlier report that you compiled that you just don't have any memory of this far forward.
It's possible.
Okay. So, with court's permission, if that memorializes your perception of that call on that day, I want to ask you a couple of questions, if I may.
Again, I don't recall this, so I don't think I can answer questions related to
Speak in a nice, clear voice right into that microphone. We'll hear everything.
Thanks, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
Megan Dvorak, last name spelled D as in David, V as in Victor, O-R-A-C-K.
And by whom are you employed?
Manatee County Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you been so employed?
12 years.
And what are your current duties with the Sheriff's Office?
I am a crime scene tech.
How long have you been a crime scene technician?
6 years.
And what did you do prior to becoming a crime scene technician?
I was a 911 dispatcher.
And as a crime scene tech, when you changed over from dispatch to crime scene, did you have to go through some training?
Yes, I did.
And can you tell the jury about that?
We do an in-house training. It's usually 3 to 6 months. We have certain criteria that we need to get checked off on by our own training officers as well as the unit manager, and he deems it appropriate when we're able to respond to calls and process evidence on our own.
And were you working as a crime scene tech in September of 2020?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you asked, I'm going to draw your attention specifically to September 27th, 2020. Were you asked to assist in a homicide call that day?
Yes, ma'am.
And what time were you called?
About 20 minutes to 9.
And what were you asked to do?
I was asked to respond to our CID interview area, which is at our main operations center, to meet with detectives and obtain photographs.
And what is CID?
Criminal Investigative Division.
And do you know what time, did you do that?
Yes, I did.
And do you know what time you arrived?
I arrived at approximately 9:21 that evening.
And you already said, I think you were asked to take photographs.
Yes, ma'am.
And who was that of?
Ashley Benefield.
And did you do that?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And what's the process for taking pictures of someone?
In this circumstance, we take overall photographs of the person as they are when we first see them, taking identification photos from the front of their face, the sides, and then we take photographs in various forms of them being stood fast in front of us. So we just go in clips from the top all the way down. So we do a face shot to her chest, middle area, and then legs, and then down to the feet. And so that's what we did first.
And then once you do that, what's the next thing you do?
The next thing we do, because I was also requested to, collect her clothing as items of evidence. And so we will start by removing an item of clothing. We're also checking for further injuries at that time or any marks that need to be identified and photographed. So we started doing that.
May I approach her?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to show you states 21 through 30. Will you take a look at them and tell me if you recognize them?
Yes, I do.
And how do you recognize them?
These are the photographs I obtained that evening.
And do they fairly accurately depict Miss Benefield as you photographed her on September 27th, 2020?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would ask to enter and publish states 21 through 30.
Any objection? None. Will be received.
Thank you. And Mr. Work, you have a laser pointer there. You may have to check if it's on.
It's on.
Okay. I'm going to start with states 21. And so if you'll just kind of, for the record, let me tell us what we're seeing in this picture.
Sure. This is a front identification picture, as we call them, of the subject that we're photographing, just like an ID photo that you would take on your driver's license.
And did you, when you were taking these photos, is that the time in which you're looking for any injuries?
Yes.
And did you observe any injuries on Miss Benefield's face?
No.
And I'll show you states 22. This is her right side?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And states 23 would be the opposite side, left.
Yes, ma'am.
And did you observe any injuries on either of those sides of her face?
No, ma'am.
And so then you said you kind of just go down the body, front and back.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to show you states 24. Will you tell me what we're seeing here?
This is a mid-torso from her breast line down to her pelvic hip area, with obviously her arms crossed in front of her person.
And states 25.
It's her shin, just above her shins, and down to her ankles that are covered by shoes.
Thank you. And states 26.
And this is a rear view of that same photograph.
And did you, when you were taking these photos, did you observe any injuries on her arms or legs?
I believe that I observed some redness on her right forearm and some slight discoloration on the back of her left leg and upper right side of her right area, right thigh.
And so I'm showing you now states 27. Is that what you're are you documenting her, the red mark you saw on her wrist in this photo?
Yes.
And you said at some point, or you did not observe any injuries to her face or head.
I'll overrule.
Thank you. I believe you just testified that you didn't observe any injuries on her face or head. Is that
Correct.
correct?
I did not see any.
But did you document her left ear?
I did.
And I'm going to show you states 28. Is this her left ear?
Yes, ma'am.
And why did you document her left ear?
Her attorney that was present at that evening with her in the room advised me that she had...
You're safe.
I think
Is it offer for the truth?
No, it's effect on the listener.
All right, overruled.
Go ahead.
Her attorney that was in the room advised me that she had seen some redness on the defendant's ear. And so I did take it for posterity reasons, photographs of that ear.
Thank you. And then once you took these overall photos that we just saw and documented those, the scratch on her wrist, did you have her remove her t-shirt?
I did.
And did you observe any injuries once she removed her t-shirt?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was that?
I noticed a scratch, a little vertical scratch under her right breast area, and then more scratches above her right hip.
I'm going to show you states 29. It's been cropped just for modesty purposes, but can you kind of orient us to where this is on Miss Benefield's body?
Looking straight forward at Miss Benefield, this would be just under the right breast area, just under the bra line.
And go ahead. And
right
then,
here is the scratch I was referring to.
thank you. And states 30, are these the scratches you mentioned on her hip?
Yes, this would be the side of her right hip.
And I'm going to show you the picture. Up there, they kind of look brown, but were they in fact brown?
No, ma'am, they were red.
Maybe. And you said that's her right hip?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Did you observe any other injuries once Miss Benefield removed her clothing?
No, ma'am.
And did you collect her clothing?
I did.
Did you conduct any further investigation after you documented Miss Benefield?
No.
Do you have anything else for her? I don't have any further questions, Mr. Ward. Defense may. Thank you.
Cross?
Yes, sir. Your Honor, I think that the monitor did not accurately portray two of the photographs. I don't know if the court have any objections, but before I begin my cross-publishing needs to.
Absolutely not. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Just hand him to the deputy. Can you state for the record which numbers they were?
It would have been 29, 30. But
29 and 30. Thank you. All right, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you. Is it deputy or Ms.?
Crime scene, Dvorak or Mrs.?
Okay. Are you a licensed deputy or?
No, I'm not a certified. I'm classified as civilian.
Civilian. Okay, that works for the sheriff's department.
Yes, sir.
As a crime scene technician.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you, of course, filled out a report of the things that you did on that particular day, did you not?
Yes.
And among other things, as you've explained to us here this afternoon, Ms. Dorvick, you also collected, did you not, DNA swabs?
I did.
Okay, will you tell us what DNA swabs are?
DNA swabs, dependent upon what I'm being requested to swab, are utilized when I'm trying to get a possible DNA sample from an area. In this circumstance, I believe I took, if I can just refer to my report,
Please,
Judge?
absolutely. Take your time. You can refer to your notes. I don't need to speak for the court, but I'm pretty confident on that one.
I did take a buccal swab. We call it a buccal swab standard from the defendant. And then for this particular case, I took touch DNA swabs, which meaning I was swabbing specific areas that the defendant's counsel had advised me that I needed to swab in accordance to find maybe possibly some of Mr. Benefield's DNA. I believe I swabbed several areas in reference to that.
Okay, and would those areas that you swabbed include Ms. Benefield's hands?
Let's see. I did swab her forearm and wrist areas, both from the left and the right.
Now, I think you referred to that as touch DNA?
Yes.
In other words, trying to break this down in its simplest terms, it would indicate when the results came back whether or not a particular individual may have touched Ashley Benefield in those areas that you swabbed.
Objection.
If she can answer. Overruled.
You may answer.
It is possible, yes.
Okay. And in this instance, by what you just expressed to us, you were taking those touch DNA samples off Ms. Benefield's wrists and forearms to check to see if Douglas Benefield had touched her on that particular day.
I believe it was just to see if any touch DNA profile came back.
Okay, would Douglas Benefield be included in that?
I don't know for certain. I did not send off to swab, so I'm not sure who they were actually putting a profile against or running it against to.
Okay, so you swab it, it's sent off to the lab?
The detective is the one who determines what swabs get sent off and who the DNA comparison is related to.
Okay, and the lab analyzes it and sends it back?
Yes.
And when they send it back, they distinguish what individuals may or may not have left their DNA in the areas that you swabbed?
I can't answer that. I don't know what their results look like or what their job entails.
Well, do you know what the end result of your swabbing is for?
I do not.
Okay, you don't know whether it's to establish if somebody touched them in those areas?
I do swab to see if there is multiple or just one DNA profile in that area. But like I said, I don't know who, if they were sending him off to compare with Mr. Benefield's DNA or not.
I understand. So you don't know who, but when you swab, you're swabbing to see whether or not scientifically there's going to be evidence that someone may have touched Ms. Benefield in those areas?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Redirect.
Oh, 1 second. Storvek, you have your report with you?
I do.
Would you look at the first page where you begin listing the areas that you swabbed?
Yes.
Does it not at the bottom also say that you swabbed the suspect's right hand and left hand?
Yes, it does. I
Not the
apologize. I
suspects.
missed that.
Ms.
Yes.
Benefield's right hand and left hand.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so you did the right hand, the left hand, the right wrist, the left wrist, the right forearm, and the left forearm.
Yes, the forearms and wrists were one swab individually on both arms, and then yes, I did swab both her right hand and her left hand individually.
And what do you do with the swabs after you've completed your task?
They are sealed with evidence tape, and they are signed on the seal to ensure that the seal is not broken. And then I place them into our property and evidence division, to which the detective deems that they need to be sent off or not.
Who's the lead detective on this case?
Detective Justin Warren.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Still don't.
All right, can the witness be released? State.
Yes.
We have her under subpoena, Your Honor. I'm going to have to ask that she remain under.
All right, ma'am. You're not released from your trial subpoena. The rule of sequestration has been invoked, so you're not to discuss your testimony or the questions asked of you with the attorneys or anyone else, any other witnesses. You're not to talk with any witnesses about their testimony or other evidence. You're not to watch or hear anything about the proceedings until you're released from your subpoena or the jury has been discharged.
Yes, sir.
All right, you can go. All right, State, call your next witness.
State would call Amanda Conlon.
Hello, ma'am. As the deputy said, just make yourself comfortable in that chair. Get about to 12 to 15 inches from that microphone. Adjust up, down, left, right, however you need. Speak a loud, clear voice right into it, and you should be able to hear everything. We hear you breathing, get under too close. All right? Thank you. All right, Ms. Field.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
It's Amanda Conlon, C-O-N-L-O-N.
And by whom are you employed?
I'm Manatee County Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you been so employed?
20 years.
And have you been, what is your current duties? What are your current duties?
A crime scene technician.
And have you been a crime scene technician that whole 20 years?
No.
What did you do before that?
I was in teletype, which is part of dispatch.
And then how long have you been in the crime scene unit?
17 years.
And what kind of training do you get to become a crime scene technician?
I went to St. Pete College and for crime scene specifically.
And then once you join the unit, do you have any on-the-job training?
Yes.
And do you continue to receive trainings if methods change or new science evolves?
Yes.
Thank you. I want to draw your attention to September 27th, 2020. Were you working that day?
Yes.
And in the same capacity?
Yes.
Okay. And were you called out to a scene at 11331 White Rock Terrace?
Yes.
And what time did you arrive there?
Approximately, I got called at 1937 hours, and I think I arrived about 28 hours approximately.
Okay, so just because I don't math. 7:37 p.m.?
Yes.
And then you got there at 8:28?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And was law enforcement already on scene?
Yes.
And how do you get called out to a scene?
It was a Sunday night, and I was on call. So since I was the on-call person, Sergeant Moss was the one who actually called me out that night.
And when you arrived there, without telling me what they say, did you speak to law enforcement to get an idea of what had happened?
Yes.
And what is your task there on scene at White Rock Terrace?
Once I arrived and wait for the search warrant to arrive, I can only take photographs of the outside of the residence on the street of where the crime scene tape was. And when the search warrant arrived, then I was able to enter the residence.
And prior to entering the residence at 11331, did you go next door to the neighbor's house?
Yes.
And why'd you go over there?
There was a firearm that I needed to protect.
And tell me about that. Where was the firearm?
When I arrived, Detective Ackerman was outside the residence with the firearm, which was in a paper bag.
And was it secured, I guess? Is that?
He secured it, yes.
And what type of firearm was it?
It was a Springfield 45 caliber.
And when you got there, had it already been unloaded, or was it still?
It was still, the magazine was still loaded.
And it did in fact have bullets in it.
It had 1 in the chamber and 3 in the magazine.
And what type of ammo was in the firearm, if you recall?
45 caliber and Hornady, I believe.
And once you collect the gun, what do you do with it?
On scene that night, I secured it in my van, box in my van.
May I approach?
Yes.
Ms. Conlon, I'm first going to show you states 31, 32, and 33. Will you take a look at those and tell me if you recognize them?
Yes, I recognize them.
And how you recognize them?
Those are my photographs that I took of the gun that was next door.
And do they appear to fairly and accurately depict it as you found it on September 27, 2020?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would ask to enter 31, 32, and 33.
Any objection?
No.
Received?
Thank you. And may I publish them?
Yes.
Ms. Conlon, there's a pointer there. I don't think you'll need it at this point, but if you do, I'm going to show you first states 31. What's the purpose of this picture?
That is the next door neighbor's house, so I'm showing the address.
And I'll show you states 32. Is that how you found the firearm that day or that evening?
Yes.
And are those potentially Detective Ackerman's feet there?
Yes.
Okay. And is this the front porch of that same address?
Yes.
And then states 33.
That's the firearm.
And the slide is back in this firearm in this picture. Was that done by the detective prior to you getting it from him?
Yes.
Thank you. I can't get it too close. And Ms. Conlon, I left an item there with you. It is states 13. Would you take a look at this item and tell me if you recognize it?
Yes, I do.
And how do you recognize it?
It's the box that I packaged the gun in, and it's got the information on this side of it.
And your information from when you packaged it?
Yes.
And did you look inside? It's open. Yep.
Yes.
Does it appear to be in the same or substantially same condition as when you packed it back in September of 2020?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time the state would ask to enter and publish states 13.
Received?
Thank you. Would it be okay if the deputy just walked in front of the...
Yes, I would prefer that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Deputy. After you collected the gun, I think I got ahead of myself earlier. At some point, do you enter 11331 White Rock Terrace?
Yes.
Okay. And what is your, what do you do when you are processing the scene? You said you'd already taken outside photos?
Yes.
And so what's the next step?
I start to take photos of the inside, and I entered through the garage door, which was open. I entered then into a hallway where there was a laundry room on the left side of me. And then as I continued down the hallway, there was 2 bedrooms on my left side. And then there was a bathroom at the very end of this hallway.
And so do you document the entire inside of the house before there's any searches or evidence collected?
Yes.
And is that what you did in this case?
Yes.
Ms. Conlon, I'm going to show you states 34 through 82. We'll take you a minute, but you'll go through each of those and let me know when you're done. You looked at them all?
Yes.
And do you recognize states 34 through 82?
I do.
And how do you recognize them?
Those are the photographs I took that night.
And do they appear to fairly and accurately depict the home as it was when you documented it and then collected evidence back in September of 2020?
Yes.
And I'm also going to show you state 16 is laying there. You kind of were describing the layout. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And how do you recognize it?
It's the residence.
And does it depict the portion of the residence we are going to discuss this afternoon?
Yes.
Your Honor, this time the state would ask to enter state 16 and states 34 through 82.
Any objection?
No.
They'll all be received.
Thank you, Your Honor. And may I publish?
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Honlin, with that sketch if I had blown it up, assist you in describing the house as we walk through it.
Yes.
And can you take a look at this blow up and tell me if it is an accurate depiction of state 16?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Taylor, feel free to reposition yourself as you need to get a clear view of what's going on.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Okay, Ms. Conlon, we're gonna, you have a pointer there. So we're gonna kind of walk through this house, through your pictures and this sketch if you don't mind. Okay, so you said you entered through the garage. Will you just point out for the jury where that is in this picture? Or the sketch, sorry. Okay.
Garage.
And then you already said you went in through a laundry room. So if you just kind of point to where you walked through.
And I walk through here.
Okay. And I'm gonna steal those pictures. I'm gonna start with states 34. What is this picture?
This is the driveway of the residence.
And this is the 1331, right?
Correct.
Okay. And that's a U-Haul truck.
Correct.
Okay. And then this is states 35. What is this?
This is still the driveway, and this is one of the storage pods and the U-Haul.
And then you said you went in through the garage.
Correct.
This is states 36. Where are you standing in this photo? When you take this photo, sorry.
I'm standing right in the entranceway of the garage.
And then states 37. What do we see here?
Still the garage.
And what is that doorway that's depicted in the middle of states 37?
So that's the hallway, and then once I enter that hallway, the laundry room's right there on the left-hand side.
And states 38, is this laundry room you were just discussing?
Yes.
And then once you go through the laundry room, what's the first thing you encounter?
Past the laundry room, there's a bedroom, which is right here.
And did you enter that bedroom and document it with a photo?
Yes, I did.
And that's states 39. Is this that bedroom that on the sketch is labeled child's bedroom?
Yes.
And were there things in this bedroom that indicated to you that potentially a child lived in that bedroom?
Yes.
Such as?
There was a small mattress, and there were some items in the closet.
Now, after you went in there, where's the next area you go?
I'm continuing down the hallway, and there's the second bedroom.
And we're going to come back to that one. Eventually, do you go through into the living room area?
Yes. So once I get to the end of the hallway, then I start my photos around here in the kitchen.
And this is states 40. What area are we looking at here?
You're in the living room right now.
And this, we're going to have dueling laser pointers. This here, what door is that?
That's the front door.
Okay, so that's on the right side of this picture?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And then here, is that the same front door on the left side of this picture, states 41?
Yes.
Okay, and what are you depicting here?
The dining room.
And then in states 42, where are you standing now when you take states 42?
So I'm standing in the living room, and I'm closest to the kitchen, like right in this area.
Thank you. And did you document the kitchen?
Yes.
And where is this is this a pantry in states 43?
Yes.
Okay, and where is it?
It's right there.
And then this sketch is only the part of the house that we're going to talk about today, is that right?
Correct.
Where is there something past the kitchen and those bathrooms there?
Yes, there's a master bedroom and bathroom in this area.
And did you go back and document that room?
I did.
Did you find anything of evidence in that room?
No, I didn't.
Thank you. Once you've walked through the whole home and you said you had gone into that bedroom we called Miss Benefield's bedroom on the sketch, do you also document any evidence that you find?
Yes.
So I'm going to show you states 44. Can you tell us what we're seeing here and then show us where this would be on that sketch?
So that's blood, and that's the entranceway of this bedroom right here. So it would be going this way.
And just to be clear, the wood part would be the bedroom and the tile would be the hallway?
Correct.
And then is this the same entranceway from a different angle?
Yes.
And were you made aware of what that smear was from or that blood mark?
Yes.
And what was it?
It was from the victim being dragged out to be worked on.
And did it go all the way? Did it start in that bedroom?
Yes.
And where did it end?
It ended at the front door.
And I'll show you states 46. I think it's a little more clear, but this is the bedroom.
Correct.
Thank you. And then what bedroom is this?
This is, once again, the same bedroom.
And this is 47. And we'll call this Miss Benefield's bedroom if that's okay with you.
Okay.
And so what are we looking at here?
I've started to take my photographs like in a 360 inside the bedroom. So I'm documenting right now the blood that's right there in the middle.
And I'm just gonna, can you just kind of mark it on there? Circle it, I guess. There you
So,
go.
yeah.
Thank you. And that states 47. Oh. The states 48. There's some, would you call them bifold doors there?
Yes.
And what is that we're looking at the base of?
That's the closet.
And then this is states 49. Is that the same closet?
Yes.
Thank you. And then you said you did a 360 view. Does that mean you take pictures of the whole room?
Yes, corner to corner, as best I can.
Thank you. And this is states 50. What are you documenting here?
Once again, the room, I'm just standing at a different corner, and then I'm starting to focus in on the casings that are in the room.
And after you've gone through these pictures, do you later mark items of evidence in a certain way?
Yes.
And how do you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, I will come back and place evidence markers down by anything that I think is evidence.
And did you do that in this room?
I did.
Okay. I'm going to show you states 51. This is the same bedroom?
Yes.
Okay. So what markers do we see here?
You're seeing 1 through 6.
And do you then also kind of zoom in or get closer pictures of what each item you're documenting?
Yes.
And so we'll start with, this is states 52. That's the same room we've been seeing, right?
Yes.
Okay. And in states 51, we can see that next to the room is marker number 1.
Yes.
Okay. So it's just kind of hidden in this picture. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So if I'm capable, I'm going to try to zoom in. What are you documenting in state 1?
I'm starting to get close-ups of the evidence markers and the casings that are next to them.
Okay. And so at states 1, I'm sorry, at markers 1, 2, and 3 here in states 52, what are those 3 items?
They're casings.
This computer's killing me. And then in states 53, where are you standing now?
Now my back is towards the wall, so I'd be right in front of evidence markers 1, 2, and 3.
And we see 4 and 6. What other markers do we see that we have not seen before in this picture?
So 4 and 6 and 5. 5 is in the corner.
And then is that white sticker on the wall a marker also?
Yes, that's 7 is.
And states 54 accomplishes what I tried to accomplish a moment ago. These are the closer up pictures of 1, 2, and 3.
Correct.
And did you collect those 3 casings?
I did.
I'm going to show you what's been pre-marked as states 4, 5, and 6. Will you take a look at those 3 items and tell me if you recognize them?
Yes, I do.
And how do you recognize them?
They've got it's my ID, my last name, my seal.
And do they, other than having been repackaged for trial purposes, do states 4, 5, and 6 appear in the same or substantially the same condition as when you packaged them?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state would ask to enter 4, 5, and 6.
Any objection to states 4, 5, and 6? Received?
Thank you, Your Honor. Now we're at states picture 55. What are you depicting here?
Pardon.
So there's a casing there, but also a close-up of the blood.
And did you collect that casing?
I did.
Same question on state 7. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And how do you recognize it?
My last name, my ID, my seal.
And other than being repackaged, does it appear to be in the same or substantially the same condition as when you packaged it?
It does.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would ask to enter state 7.
Any objection to states 7?
No, sir.
Received?
Thank you, Your Honor. And Judge, can we just publish by having these casings passed, these 4 casings passed?
You see?
Yes, sir. Come on.
No, I just need to hold them up. Yes, you may pass those.
Thank you.
You got them all, Deputy? All right, ma'am.
Thank you, Judge. I'll show you states 56. We see 1, 2, and 3, which we've already discussed, but also number 5. What were you documenting with tent number 5?
There's a projectile at 5.
And in states 57, is that a close-up of that projectile?
Yes.
And did you collect it?
Yes.
You take a look at states 9 and tell me if you recognize it.
I do.
And how do you recognize it?
It's my last name, my ID, and my seal.
And other than being repackaged for court purposes, does it appear to be in the same or substantially the same condition as when you collected it from marker number 5?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would ask to enter states 9.
No objection.
Received.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now we're looking back out of the same bedroom, is that correct?
Correct.
This is states 58, and we see a marker we have not seen before in the middle there, well, a couple. But that first one in the hallway,
Check the leading.
I'll sustain. She can explain.
thank you. Can you tell me which markers we see in this picture?
So going out into the hallway towards the front door is 13, 14, 15.
And would you point to them if you don't mind with that laser pointer?
right there, there, and there.
And then on the wall, do we see a marker, or is there any other markers besides number 6 and the one you just discussed?
Number 7,
Okay. And what were you documenting with number 7?
a projectile hole.
And this is state 59. Is that the same hole?
Yes,
Thank you. And at some point, did you attempt to determine what happened to the projectile after it went through number 7?
yes,
And were you able to figure that out?
yes.
And where did it go?
It ended up in the bathroom's door frame.
And do you have some type of equipment that you use to try to help you in that, to figure out the path of a bullet?
A trajectory rod. Yes,
And did you use that in this case?
I did.
Okay. I'm going to show you state 60, and if you could describe for the jury what they're seeing here, please.
So the hole starts at 7 and enters. So that's an entryway. Then this is where it ended up. So the projectile's right there at 11 in the door frame.
Thank you. And did you document the path that it took?
I did.
Okay. So that was state 60 if I didn't state it for the record. This is state 61.
So that would be on the other side of 7. So 7's an entry, 8 is an exit. So that's going into the bathroom cabinet underneath the sink.
And if you can, well, I guess, so 7 would be on the opposite side of the wall?
In the bedroom, correct.
Thank you. And then after it left 8, did you determine where it went?
Its path continued through the cabinet door.
And this is state 62. What do we see here?
So now it is entering the cabinet door. So that's what number 9 is labeling.
Thank you. And what's this in state 63?
So that's the same cabinet door, and this is it exiting that cabinet door.
And this is state 64 for perspective. Will you show us, just point to where the marker 10 is?
Right there.
10, I'm sorry.
Sorry, 10.
And did you determine the final resting place of this projectile?
I did.
And where was it?
It's at 11 in the door frame.
So this is state 65. What's this?
That is where the projectile ended up.
And state 66, what do we see here?
That is a close-up, and you can actually see the projectile right there.
And did you dig it out of the wall?
I did.
And state 67, what do we see here?
That is, it's been dug out, so that should, and it's right there.
And did you collect that projectile?
I did.
I'm going to show you state 8. Same questions. Do you recognize it?
I do.
And how do you recognize it?
My last name, my ID, and my seal.
And other than being repackaged for court purposes, does it appear to be in the same or substantially the same condition as when you removed it from the wall back in September of 2020?
It does.
At this time, the state would ask to enter states 8.
No objection.
Received?
I'm going to show you state 68. Can you tell me what you're documenting here?
So that is the blood trail. So I'm now in the living room, dining room area. So that's 14, 15, and 16 are all blood.
And we saw a 14, 15, and 16 in a previous picture. Are these the same ones?
Yes.
You only use each number once.
Correct.
Thank you. And this door, what is the door in the middle of this picture?
That's the front door.
And then state 69, what do we see here?
So I continued outside because there was more blood outside. So that is right in the front entrance outside the front door. So it would be right in this area. So that's 17 and 18 with blood.
Thank you. When you said this area, you pointed, but I didn't see. Would you mind?
Right in this area.
Thank you. Did you locate any other projectiles in the home?
I did.
And where was it? Where was it? One or more?
It was one more, just one more.
And where was it?
It's in the living room.
And did you document that with photos?
I did.
I'm going to show you state 70. What do we see here? And if you could just show us on that sketch where we're looking.
So this is the living room, and it's right by the front door. So it's gonna. This is the front door, so it's right here in this area. So there's the window. So it's right there.
Thank you. And what is this item in state 71, if you know?
It's not some kind of shelving.
And what are you documenting in this photo?
The path that the projectile took.
And can you just point to the jury what you used?
Right there, there, and there's the projectile hole.
Thank you. And this is state 72. Is this the projectile you just told us about?
It is.
And did you remove it from the wall?
I did.
And you collected it?
I did.
I'll show you states 10. Do you recognize it?
Yes, I do.
And how do you recognize it?
My last name, my ID, and my seal.
And does, other than repackaged for trial purposes, does it appear to be in the same or substantially the same condition?
It does.
Your Honor, the state would ask to enter states 10.
No objection.
Received?
And may I have the deputy pass 8, 9, and 10, Your Honor? Thank you.
All right, State.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Conlon, did you find any firearms in this home?
I did.
And I want to show you States 49. We previously viewed it. What do we see here in 49?
The backpack that's in the closet.
And did you search that backpack?
I did.
And did you document that search?
I did.
And so this is State 73. Is that the same backpack?
Yes.
And what did you find inside that backpack?
A firearm.
Did you find anything to indicate to you whose backpack it was?
There was a driver's license.
And this is State 74. Is this the driver's license you found in the backpack?
Yes.
And would you mind telling me the name on it?
Ashley Benefield.
Thank you. And what do we see here in State 75?
That's the firearm.
And then at some point later, once you collected it, did you lay it out and document it?
I did.
I'm going to show you State 76. And let me ask you first, what kind of firearm was it?
It was a 6-hour 380.
And in State 76, is that the same firearm?
Yes.
I can zoom in if you, maybe. To be sure, or give you the other picture. Is that the 6-hour?
It is.
Thank you. And I'm going to show you States 43. We saw this picture. This is in the kitchen?
Yes.
Okay. And did you find anything of evidentiary value in that pantry?
Yes.
And what was it?
A firearm.
And can we see it here in this picture?
You can't see it, but it's where the Jiffy peanut butter is. There's a basket, and it's in that basket.
And so now, sorry. State 77. Is that the same Jiffy or Jif?
Yeah.
Okay. And 78.
The basket's been taken down to a lower shelf, and then the firearm's in there.
And did you also later document this firearm on some brown paper?
I did.
And in State 79, is that what we see?
Yes.
And what kind of firearm was that?
It was a Springfield 9mm.
Thank you. Did you collect, and I'm sorry, let's go back to the SIG that was in the closet. Was it loaded?
It was.
And you said that was a 380?
Oh, yes.
And the one that this one we're looking at here, was it loaded?
Yes.
And in this picture, can you tell us what all we see in this picture?
It's been secured, so if the slide is back, this is the magazine. So there was 1 in the chamber and then 9 in the magazine.
And they're still in the magazine at this point?
Correct.
Thank you. And I know you already said 9mm?
Yes.
Thank you. Just don't want to get them confused. Did you collect any other items of evidence from the home?
Yes.
Okay. And what were they?
2 cell phones were collected.
And I'm going to show you States 80. What is this item?
That is a cell phone which was on the living room couch.
And you collected it?
I did.
Your name, person clerk.
Yes.
Ms. Conlon, I'm showing you States 11. Can you take a look at that and tell me if you recognize it?
Yes, I do.
And is that the phone we see? I'm sorry, what is it?
It is the cell phone that's on the couch.
And how do you recognize it?
It's the same color, everything.
And is it documented with this case number and the time of this case?
Yes.
And other than possibly some paperwork being added, does it appear to be the same or substantially the same condition?
Yes.
The state would ask to enter States 11.
Received?
Thank you. And how many phones did you collect?
2.
And where was the second phone?
In the garage.
And what do we see here in States 81?
So it's a shelf. So it's right outside, going back to the garage. So it's a shelf that's right here, the entryway into the house. So there was a shelf area.
And is that same phone depicted in States 82?
Yes.
I'm showing you States 12. Do you recognize it?
Yes.
And how do you recognize it?
The case number, what kind of phone it was, and the date that this occurred.
Thank you. I didn't mean to interrupt you. And does it appear to be in the same or substantially the same condition as when you collected it back in September of 2020?
It does.
Your Honor, the state would ask to enter States 12.
Received?
Once you collected these phones, what did you do with them?
Everything was secured back in the lab once I cleared the scene, but these 2 phones were assigned over to a detective so they can be searched.
And what detective was that?
Blazinski.
Thank you. His last name?
Blazinski.
Thank you.
You just call him Ski.
Other than after what we've just gone through from September 27th, were you later asked to do something else in this case?
Yes.
And when was that?
That was on October 1st.
And what were you asked to do?
To photograph Ashley Benefield.
And did you do that?
I did.
And where did that take place?
In our CID.
And I'm going to show you States 83, 84, and 85. You haven't seen these today. Do you recognize them?
Yes.
And how do you recognize them?
They're the photos I took of Ashley.
And do they fairly and accurately depict how she appeared to you back in October 1st, 2020?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, state would ask to enter and publish 83, 84, and 85.
Received?
And what was the purpose of taking pictures of her?
So this was after the night that everything occurred, and I know Megan took pictures of her that night, but sometimes bruising does not show up for a couple days, so that was why I went back to take pictures of her.
And did you observe any injuries on her body?
There were scratches, yes.
I'm going to show you states 83. What's the purpose of this photo?
It's just to show who I'm taking a picture of.
And did you observe any injuries to Ms. Benefield's face or neck?
I did not.
And then states 84.
So that's the scratches,
And just for orientation purposes, that's the right side of her body.
yes.
Thank you. And states 85.
The scratch in her back.
And for orientation purposes, what side of her body would that be?
Actually, I'm sorry, it's not her back. It's, well, yeah. See this real quick? I believe it's right under her bra line.
It's been cropped quite down.
Yeah. So it's the right side of her body.
Thank you. And were you asked to conduct any further investigation in this case?
No.
Your Honor, may I have just a moment with the counsel? Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Conlon. I don't have any other questions.
All right, Mr. Taylor, do you need any of the displays?
I'd like to just take a moment, Your Honor, and look through the pictures.
You break it, you buy it.